everybody, and welcome to my video today. I am in my little summer mini album, and this video is very long, and you're gonna see that I make lots of mistakes. And I left them all in so that you could see my real process. So I got a comment recently that was like, everything you do turns out so perfect. Every project that you create is so perfect, and I don't know how you do that. And here's the spoiler alert. Everything that I do is not perfect. I make lots of mistakes, but through the magic of filming, I can stop filming, fix whatever the situation is, come back and show you, and it looks like it's seamless. So I'm in my mini album here, which I am using the loose pages from a scrappy spiral notebook. I get that from Hepa, my little journal, on YouTube. And she makes these scrappy spiral notebooks, and then she also sells these loose pages. So that's what I'm going to use. So the first thing that I did is I planned out several pages, and then I sized all my photos, and I printed 3 pages of photos and a full page of journaling. That alone took me a little bit over an hour. So I sized all my photos. I picked out the layouts that I would be using, so the pages that I wanted to use. Then I went and sized all my photos. I printed all of my photos on sticker paper. And so they're not like the best, most wonderful quality, but they really work. Now, lots of these photos are going to show up in other projects for me. I'm still doing my family project life album, so there'll still be photos for July. And so some of these will make 2 appearances. And so that's why I'm not really worried. This is just a fun side project for me that I'm just exploring, being able to use my stamps and being able to use different product in different ways. I printed all of my journaling out on Avery sticker paper so that it is clear. All of my photos were printed on white label paper. And I'm just using some label sheets that I had left over from all of the years of shipping and doing different things. And then this page here was a page that I had already done, but I needed one more photo. I needed the photo of my feet and my friend's feet. We're walking, and she knows that I document things, and so I'm always taking photos. And so she took a photo of her feet on her way home and sent it to me and was like, you have to include me in your project. And so I needed that photo printed, and then I needed the journaling, so I added that. Now on this page here, it says the lake, and I have a photo that is coming of the lake that is going to be large, and it will cover that whole page. The next page right next to it, I have some journaling here, and this is where the first mistake happens. So I peel off the sticker paper and I go to put it on this square, and for whatever reason, this go around, I did not measure my spots properly, and you're going to see this pop up several times. This was the first one, so you can see that it's off-centered. It's not in the center of that journaling block. And I just decided to go with it. The sticker paper is very aggressive sticker paper, and so the adhesive is very aggressive, is what I mean. And so it is not easy to pull it up. Now, I have pulled it up on occasion, but I just knew I wasn't going to be able to pull it up from that spot. So I just didn't even try. I was like, okay, well, it's just going to be off. So that's the first thing, is that you'll notice that square is a little bit off. That square that is down there is an Ali Edwards, it was probably a 4x6, or I'm sorry, it was probably a 3x4 pocket card, and I trimmed it down. The photos that I'm doing here are of a really fun movie night. I always laugh and say that our little town is like Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls. And this is just one of the many examples of why I always feel like that. Our whole town came out for a movie night. In the, we have some, our fairgrounds are in the town that we live. And there's lots of events that happen at this space. But it was a fundraiser for the fair. And so the whole town came out. It was like massive. Everybody came out and we watched a movie, and myself and Esau went, and then Kayla and her boyfriend went, and then Andrew went. Violet did not want to do this. And the movie was an old movie. It was Footloose, which Footloose is one of my two favorite movies. My two favorite movies of all time are Dirty Dancing and Footloose. And these are movies that I've watched since I was a kid. I mean, I remember watching Dirty Dancing when I probably should not have been watching it. I was like 6 or 7 years old. It was, I mean, right after it came out. I remember watching it. So that was that layout. And so I did a little bit of journaling on that card. And then you saw I used a lot of pattern paper and just played with that and then added those photos. This next layout is of these floral photos that I took. These are actually the flowers in our grocery store. We shop at Safeway. I don't know. Some of you may know that grocery store. Some of you may not. I think there's quite a few of them across the United States. And our floral department is incredible. And it's right by the produce. So it's right where we walk into the grocery store. And I always love in the summertime and then at Christmas time the photos. And I don't normally go grocery shopping. My husband is the one that does the grocery shopping. And I don't typically go with him. I don't like going. I don't like grocery shopping. And I'm terrible about putting things in the cart, so he's very good at sticking to the list and not getting anything extra. But this day I went with him. In the summertime, oftentimes I will go with him because I typically don't leave my house a ton in the summertime. I don't do well in the heat. And so I spend a lot of time inside. And so a lot of times in the summertime, I will go with him grocery shopping just to get out of the house. And this is one of those times that I did. And there were these beautiful bouquet of sunflowers and then another set. And I actually went over and I talked to the gal in the floral department, and I just told her how amazing of a job that she does, because it's always beautiful in there. And so I snapped those photos, and then the journaling I did was exactly what I just said to you about not always leaving the house in the summertime and just getting out of the house. And it was really a nice day. Now, these are photos that will not show up in my family album. So it's great that there is a place for them. So the summer album that I'm doing is from the first week of June, and then I will probably do through the first week of August. And so far it's been in chronological order, which is nice. But that's not even my goal for this project. My goal for this project is just to have fun. It is just to get some product out, particularly my stamps, and to just have fun crafting and making some things. Now, normally I would be sharing my project life weekly with you here today on Tuesday. However, I've ordered photos, and for the first time in a really long time, I ordered photos to be shipped to me. So I use Snapfish, S-N-A-P, fish. So snapfish.com. And I've used them forever. I mean, for almost 20 years now. And they used to have an option where you could then upload them to the website and then have them picked up at Walmart. They must not have a contract with them anymore, because I can't do that. And because it's summertime and I'm just not going out as much, I've been needing to get photos printed for June, and I just hadn't done that yet. And so finally I sat and I did my June cleanup on my camera roll. I edited any photos that I needed to edit, and I sent photos out to get printed, and then I have some larger prints coming with that order. So as soon as I get those photos, I'll jump back into my Project Life album I just don't have the photos yet. So once I do, I will. So here is just what I'm doing in between. I'm printing these photos, like I said, on photo paper, and I'm just doing this small project. So on this one here, this came out perfect. This is a pocket card, and then you saw my journaling went on there really nicely. And I was like, okay, I had that one little minor issue on the last page, but now everything's going good, and I'm lining things up, and I did not know that the issues that were about to come. And this day I spent a good 3 to 4 hours crafting. This video was almost 2 hours long by the time when I got done and I took the footage and was looking through it. So it was a really long day of crafting, and it was just fun to do. It was just adding these things. I was able to look through my pocket cards and use some of that. You saw me flip through a new paper pad that I got. Next Monday, you will see my little mini haul on my Hello Monday. I have a little video of I think I picked up 4 items, so it wasn't anything crazy. But you'll see those paper pads in next week's Hello Weekly. So I just added, this is the layout that is like the 3x4 spots. And I'm making my photos and my journaling cards a little bit smaller than 3x4, so that the white box, there is a bit of that white box showing, so it looks like a border. It almost looks like if you printed your photo with a white border. And I'm really enjoying that. It also is giving me space to add my stitch lines, my faux stitch lines on there, and so that's working. And then on the edge of each of the pages, I am adding a strip of pattern paper because of the way that this is going. The way that I have this all coming together is with rings, and so I'm punching holes, and so that just allows there to be a little bit more of a like a sturdiness to the edge. And you're going to see that one of the big mistakes that I make here in just a few minutes is with the spine of this. So I will say that there is part of me that is wishing I was in something that was already bound, either a like 6x8 album or a scrappy spiral notebook. So the thing is that I'm really enjoying the ability to do things like that pocket that I did with the sunflowers and that pocket on the side. I'm really enjoying being able to do that kind of stuff, but then I'm also wishing that some of this was a little bit quicker and I could just drop it in a pocket. I also don't know that I love the way that I chose to put all of this together with the rings and then punching the holes. I don't know, I'm feeling like it's a little sloppy and not how I wanted it all to come together. But I'm just going with it because that's the decision I made, and I'm not going to change that now. But if I do this again next summer, which this has been a really fun summer project, if I do this again next summer, I might choose to do it in a different setup and something that's already bound. Just because I just feel like it looks a little sloppy. And then you're going to see one of the mistakes that I make is really unfortunate that it happens. So again, I'm just adding, what I'm trying to make sure that I do is add the paper to the spine and then punch the holes first, or know where the holes are. So this card that says now, I'm definitely going to have to trim it down so that the holes don't go through like a photo or a card. And again, you're going to see that I end up having holes right through photos because I mess up. So I'm just using a hole punch that I have and then using one of the pages as a guide. That's just what I keep doing, is I keep using one page and then doing the holes. And you can see this one with the 4 photos and the currently loving, it came out really great. Now, my embellishing is not done. So all you're seeing me do today is the photos and the journaling, and then getting it into the like on the actual rings. And what I'm noticing about this project is I like waiting until I have several pages to do for printing purposes. So like to be able to print 3 pages of photos and then 1 full page of journaling and put them in, I feel like is much better than printing just a few photos. Um, just for time wise, like sitting down at my computer, sizing the photos, typing out the journaling. It's better when I have a few pages. The thing is that, like I said, I mean, I was at this 3 to 4 hours the day that I did it, the day that I was sitting down to do it. And it was really nice. But by the time I just got all the photos in and all the journaling in and everything, holes punched and on the rings, my back was hurting, and so I stopped and I didn't get to do the fun stuff, which is the embellishing. That's always the stuff that I look forward to the most. And I feel like when you're doing a traditional layout or you're doing even like pocketed, sometimes you can do like add your photo, add your journaling, and then go and embellish all in one swoop. This I feel like is a little bit more labor intensive. So here's where things start to go bad. This journaling, I sized it wrong, or I measured wrong. So when I did my journaling, there's some of it hanging over, and I have to trim off some of it right there where I snipped that one end. There's a little bit of the journaling that I tried to center it the best I could, and just know that there was going to be a few, like you can see on the end, like there's some words that are cut off. It's not terrible, but it's definitely like, it was disheartening to me. When I was sitting there, I was like, oh, I messed up again. I didn't measure this right. And I think it's because the ruler I have at my desk is not a great ruler. Like the way the measurements are on it, it's not great. And so I keep using that ruler because it's at my desk when I'm journaling, and I'm not reading it properly. I already struggle with rulers. Y'all know that if you followed me for any length of time, that I struggle reading rulers. And so not having a good one at my desk, I think it's causing problems. So I need to swap out and put a different ruler at my desk. So the journaling is a little bit cut off on the one end. It's not anything horrible, but it definitely is a little bit cut off. That card says now, and it says a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And the story that I'm telling on this page is Violet eating watermelon. So watermelon is one of her favorite things to eat. She looks forward to it in summer. It's one of the only things that she looks forward to in summer, that and being out of school. And so this is a photo, and you can see here, I trimmed my photo wrong. So there's a lot of white border at the top, and I cut it wrong. And this is the point where I start getting frustrated. So I trimmed the second photo to match the photo with Violet, and then I will end up fixing that by adding a little bit of pattern paper. So I am able to fix kind of what I don't like about it. And the second photo is of a Italian ice that I found at the store, and I got to try to help with the heat. I get pretty sick with the heat. I get migraines, and I get a lot of, like, I'm really nauseous during the summertime, and so I had found that. And so that's the story I tell. I also tell the story in my journaling about how whenever Violet gets excited about watermelon and we cut the watermelon and she's eating the watermelon, it always makes me think of my grandma, because I just feel like my grandma would have got such a kick out of how much she loves watermelon. My grandma really loved watermelon, and she would get such a kick out of how much Violet loved it. So I just mentioned that. So this page turned out, other than the journaling and the photos, like I feel like I was able to pivot and work that out. This is where it's going to get real messy. And we're just going to have a lot of problems. We're going to have a lot of problems with how I end up putting these photos on here, We're going to have a lot of problems with my stamping. I end up making a huge mistake with my stamping. So these next two, so the page right by Violet and the watermelon, I'm leaving blank because these two sets of photos I wanted to be right by each other. The first one that I'm working on right now was a dedication that we went to for a veterans park that was just done over the last few months. It was done and it was dedicated on the 4th of July before our 4th of July parade. And again, the whole town came out. There was a flyover of like one of those little like personal planes that people fly. There was a flyover. It was really, really incredible. And they put these plaques with names of veterans that live in the area or who have lived in the area. And then they put these plaques with each of the branches of the military. And that's where Esau's standing. He served in the Marine Corps, and so he's standing by the Marine Corps one. And so this was the dedication of that park. So that's the first layout. And then the second layout is pictures at the parade, our 4th of July parade. So again, the whole town comes out for the 4th of July parade, and it's a big deal. My kids have always gone. It's been part of their whole life. And so I wanted both of these next to each other, mainly because I wanted to use like blue and red and white and like that kind of thing for my paper. And so I wanted them by each other. And here's where the first problem, which I will not realize this until way later, is that these layouts, it started with me sizing the photos. And because I wanted to leave that one page blank, I sized my photos for these two layouts, and really these two layouts should have been flipped. So this layout here, paper-wise, should have been on the other side, and these photos that I did should have been sized for the other layout. Okay. And this might not make sense as I'm explaining it, as I'm doing it, but you'll see what I mean when I start to punch the holes in the what is that called? In the seam. Because at this point, I don't really realize it. I'm just like going about my business and I'm like, okay, these photos are sized for this layout, so this is the layout I need to use. Now, in all honesty, even if I had realized it, even if I had realized this problem when I was doing it, I probably would have chose not to reprint my photos and resize them, because that's my one complaint about the Scrappy Spiral notebook is it is a pain in the rear end to size these photos. I don't know how other people do it. I don't use Photoshop, but I use PicMonkey, which would just, I guess, be considered the easy version of Photoshop. I have to use that program to resize my photos to what I need them to, because like the picture of Esau standing at the plaque, that is 2x3. So I have to go into PicMonkey. I have to resize that photo to 2x3. Then I have to put it into my Word document where I print my photos from. So then I take all the photos that I resize and then I put them on in my Word program, like Word or Pages. And then I put all of the photos on one page and then I print from there. So my one complaint about the Scrappy Spiral notebook is it is a pain in the neck to resize all these photos and print all these photos. I really hate it. I'm a very lazy scrapbooker. And I know somebody said in one of my comments, like, I would never consider you a lazy scrapbooker because of all of the things that you do. But when I say I'm a lazy, like, memory keeper or scrapbooker, it's because all of my projects, if you look at all of my projects, Project Life, even my traditional pages, I print photos in two sizes, 4x6 and 3x4, because It was, I mean, I'm telling you, it was about an hour, if not a little bit longer, if not like an hour and 20 minutes that I spent editing, resizing photos, printing photos out, and all of that. So it's a huge chunk of time that you have to spend doing that. Now, the end result, I really like the end result. I really like being able to use the Scrappy Spiral notebook or these loose pages. They're really fun to do, and I'm able to use my stamps and have fun like that. But it's frustrating to me the amount of time it takes to like edit my photos and get them in the spot. And then you can see I've messed up. Like, I've sized things not in the right way, and so I've had to pivot when creating to figure that out. So that's my only complaint about the Scrappy Spiral notebook. And honestly, I could probably figure out a way to make it easier. Like, I have been trying to think through different ways. Like, how could I make this an easier steps so it's not so time consuming? And if I come up with an easier way, for sure, I'll let you know. And if any of you have easier ways to resize or do some of that, please let me know. Because I just feel like that's the most frustrating part. So, and it's definitely a little bit different if you're working in the notebook that is already spiraled. I probably wouldn't have ran into this issue of like not sizing my photos properly, or like getting these two layouts, the actual pages, swapped. So I'm gonna add my photos here so you can see that I'm just taking them and adding them. I added some pattern paper to both pages because I want both of these pages to in a sense work together. They were both within the same few hours. The dedication was at 8:30. It went from 8:30 to 9:45, and then the parade was at 10. And also, it was very exciting to go to the parade because last year we did not go because we had that horrific heat wave in California, and so I just did not leave my house for weeks. And so Violet in particular was very, very excited about being able to go to the parade again. We missed it last year. It's the only year we've ever missed it. And it also, when my husband was towing and working for a local company, he actually drove in the parade. That year was really fun that we got to see him drive in the parade. So just fond memories. And as the whole town comes out, like, we've just grown up with some of the kids that were in, like, one of the kids that is in the Miss Amador for our local fair. I mean, we grew up with her. I've seen her since she was a little kid, and now she's competing for Miss Amador. And so it's just fun. And then my journaling on these are just going to go into the boxes. And that is one of the things that is so much fun about these Scrappy Spiral notebooks and these loose pages is the different layouts and is the different way they come together. Like, I just really love the way that this looks. So I got this new stamp set. This is from HEPA. It's one of my favorites. I was so glad she restocked it because I missed it the first time around. And she restocked it, and I picked it up, and I've been wanting to use it. So what I want to do is put 4th of July here in this spot. And at first I thought I would stack it, and I would do 4th, and then I would write of it just in my own handwriting, and then I would do July on the bottom. It really wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to fit. I probably could have like finagled it and made it fit, but I think, you know what, that's not going to work. So I think, well, what if I just, since this isn't in a spiral, since it's not already together, what if I just turn it and then I stamp it in this direction? Now, this would have been fine. I'm using cranberry ink from Concord and Ninth, so it's a really great red to go with this spread. The stamps are brand new, so I'm just prepping them before I stamp. So I'm just prepping them with a nail file, a fine nail file, and then I am rubbing them on my palm a little bit and then letting the ink soak into it, and I am stamping. Now the problem is, if you see off to the side, I have the stamp sitting and I have the H and the T sitting there, and I'm going to spell fourth wrong. I'm going to grab the H and I'm going to stamp, and then I'm going to grab the T and stamp, and then I'm going to realize, it's going to take me a minute to realize. I even have to write fourth out because I'm like, this does not look right. Like, what did I do? So I have to write fourth out on a piece of paper, and then I realize, okay, I've stamped it wrong. So when I realize I stamp it wrong, I don't really know what to do because this is loose paper. And yeah, see right here, I'm like, what did I do? Like, how did I do this? So I'm writing it out. I grab my pen and I'm like, yep, I totally did it wrong. So I give myself a second. I'm going to add my journaling because I'm like, I don't know how to fix this. I could put pattern paper over it, but then I can't stamp, and I really wanted to stamp. Now at this point, I don't even realize that I've really messed up, like that this is a real problem. I'm just thinking I messed up the stamping. And then also, this is a really good spot where you can see after I put my clear sticker paper down, when you so I take my bone folder and I rub my bone folder over it, and it just helps it like really stick to the paper, and then it makes it more translucent. So what I did is, this is a leftover piece of label sticker paper that I print my photos on. And so I just use that and I cover that whole spot. And then I trim it down and I'm going to re-stamp. So that, like, I'm like, okay, I'll just re-stamp. It should be fine stamping on this sticker paper. You can totally tell that I've had to cover something up. But again, a lot of these details nobody's going to notice. Like, nobody else is going to notice that there's sticker paper there. Or if they do, they'll think it's supposed to be there. Like, probably I'm the only one that is going to know, like, oh, this is a huge problem. Also, that it gives me the ability to recenter my letters. So always when you're stamping alpha letters, the thing you have to remember is, if you're going to do them individually, you can get them a lot closer than you think. And so the problem that I often run into is, I think I need more space than what I actually need because the letters can go closer together. And that's going to be a good thing for when I stamp of July, because again, I have a little mishap. So I'll restamp fourth. And again, I just love this alpha. It is just one of my favorites. I really love it. I thought about coloring it in, or like adding like stripes or polka dots to the open part. I ended up not. And you can also see that I start to slant down, like the H should have been up a little bit higher. And then the O for of should have been over a little bit more. But I didn't want it to be right under the other O. And so I was like, I need to start it over a little bit. But then I'm like, ooh, like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough room for July. So I'm like, I'm just going to have to smush the July letters. Like, I'm going to have to smush all of that together. It ends up being okay. It ends up working out okay. I have just enough room to get July in, and so it works out. And then I thought, well, I'll just put like some kind of embellishment under the F and that partial O. Like, maybe I can just put something there that will fill in that space and it will work out. But again, I wish I would have centered it a little bit differently. And some of that is just stamping. Like, sometimes with stamping, you just have to go in and do it and realize that it's not going to look perfect, and be okay with that, because if you want it to be perfect, you need to do it like in a digital form. If it's going to be stamped, it's not going to look perfect. A lot of times it's not going to look perfect. So this is the back side of that layout we were just working on. And I think at this point I've realized that I've sort of messed up, and I got to like figure this out. Because now the holes are going to be on the opposite end of where they should be. So on the very back of that layout, I'm going to do a full page layout. And this says the good stuff, and I'm just going to trim it down. And I wish I would have trimmed it before I put it on the page, because then I could have just centered it on the page. I was thinking that the good stuff, the page layout, would fit over the full part of the page. I didn't realize it was going to be slightly short. And so, again, it's not centered great. I should have trimmed it first and then added it to the page. And then what I'm going to need to do is add some pattern paper to the bottom. And then this will, I could add photos to this. I definitely could add photos to this. Or I might just add journaling. It will just depend on what I want to go there. I just knew that the back, I wanted to get the back on there so that I could punch the holes, because I think at this point I've realized I've messed up where the holes should be. So I wanted this pattern paper, but it didn't stretch across the whole bottom part. So I'm gonna trim off a couple pieces and then piece them together. Sometimes you have to do that with your 6x6 paper, and I'm totally fine doing that. Okay, so you see here, I'm just gonna add that paper. I thought about adding the pink like plaid because of the pink on the top, but I decided to go with the stripes. And then I thought maybe I would punch some of that plaid out and put it other places. I'm using my grid mat to line it up. That's always my trick to line it up, is you see that I use that grid, and then I will trim off the extra because I know that, okay, it's on there straight, and then whatever extra can come right off and the pattern will line up and it will be straight on the bottom. And I really actually like the way that that came out. It added a little color to it. So here is where you can see that now the holes are on the wrong spot, and there's nothing I can do about it. I've already stamped, I've already stuck down. So then I realize on this other side here, I'm gonna need something else. Like I'm not gonna be able to do the spine or the edge the way that I've been doing it. So I'm like, let me get my holes in here so I can see like what to do. So I'll punch the holes, and this was just for me taking the whole album over to my computer, the whole stack of loose pages, and then trying to flip through and figure out what photos I wanted to go where, and them not having, like, not being together. So now I know that what I need to make sure that I do is make sure I check where the holes need to go. So this, I'm going to punch these holes, and there's going to be a hole that goes right through my stamping, which is kind of unfortunate. I was already not totally happy with how July ended up stamped. And then there ends up being a hole right through it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I really love the way that this came together, them right next to each other. So you can see, like, there's a hole through the photos. Luckily, the hole is not right through my face. It's right above my head. So I don't feel like that photo was totally ruined. And then the other hole is right under July. So I'm like, it's not terrible, but it's not perfect, and it totally annoys me. It totally makes me feel like I don't like it. Here are those large pages. Those are from Ali Edwards. And so what I realize is on the back side here, instead, if I put a strip of paper on the edge, it's going to cover the holes, and it's going to make the layout weird. So here's where the next mistake comes, because we're not done with mistakes. We're just not done with this. So I cut this because I'm like, I'll trim it. And then I realize I should have cut it on the other side because it cut right through the 3. So I'm like, well, I'll just piece it together. So I'm going to trim off the other side. And this way I can center this whole piece of paper. I can center it on the actual layout. So I'm not going to have to add paper at the top or the bottom to fill it out. And then this way it will just cover up that layout, and I can add a photo to the top if I want. I could add a collage to the top if I want to. And then it says like 1, 2, 3. So I will just, you know, be thinking about this layout, and I'm sure like some photos or an event or something, I'll be like, oh, that'll be perfect. There is definitely a plus side to knowing the layout that you're going to be working with next, and then just having that in the back of your mind as life is happening and you're taking photos or you're thinking about documenting, to know like, okay, that's the space that I have and I want to make it fit. I typically don't do that. I just go for it, obviously, because that's exactly why this got messed up. And if I wasn't punching holes in this, it would have been fine. So if I was just slipping this into a page protector, it would be totally fine. So I think this is the part where my daughter came in and needed me to braid her hair because they were going to the pool. So I am definitely, this is not turning me away from using the scrappy spiral notebook or using these loose leaf, but this is probably a really clear example of when I say that I'm lazy with things in memory keeping, it's just because I want to be able to just print and go. I don't want to try to have to figure out the sizing because I just feel like I'm not good at it. Now, maybe I'm not good at it because I haven't done it a lot. And so maybe just giving myself grace and being like, okay, this is something new that you're learning, and maybe it gets easier over time. Sort of like with stamping, I am stamping so much differently than I ever did like when I was card making. And so it's very different. And it's something that I'm having to get used to. So overall, I did several pages in this. Now I need to go back and do my embellishing. And I noticed I missed one spot of journaling, and I'll do that. But overall, I think this project is turning out really great. So let me know what you think of what I'm doing and all the mistakes that I made, and how your summer is going. There's 2 other videos here on the screen for you that I would love for you to check out. And I would love for you to check out my membership. There's lots of extra content on there that you can see. And then I will catch you in my next video this Friday. So thanks everyone. Have a great day.